Climb aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. Caught Mr. Kerr mid-coffee sip there as we get started this week. Hanging out at the Hyatt place in Blacksburg, Virginia with
luxury.
Way too much. Can't use words today. With nowhere near enough sleep this week. I think I probably had double the amount of hours of sleep this week that you had the previous week, Mr. Kerr, but that's still only about like 10 or 11. So,
yeah, this was another tough but really amazing week for sure. As everybody watching on YouTube, you can see significant bags underneath my eyes. And I slept 8.5 hours. I don't think I moved last night, and I'm still 8.5 hours behind where I need to be.
Well, the good news is I did move. I have an old man age where I do have to get up. My bladder wakes me up in the middle of the night, Mr. Kerr. It's just the way it is once you get to a certain age. Once you get to as old as I am.
That's pretty old, man.
It is.
I'm impressed. It's pretty old.
We got a lot of stuff on the docket. They're all little small things. Well, not all small things, but some easy, quick topics. We're going to talk about Palazzo and Grayson, our hotel stays this week. Palazzo being new to the World of Hyatt program, along with Venetian in Las Vegas. I now have 3 American Airlines flights this year, so I want to sort of give my almost too small basket size comparison between American and United. There's some buzz out there. I don't know if you've heard it, but there's some buzz out there about some potential new credit cards coming from Bilt. So I figure we could talk a little bit about that.
Heard about that.
There's a new JetBlue credit card out there. Aeroplan's got some updates to their award pricing, and then an interesting little thing from May on our Slack community about Delta opportunities during extra MQDs. It sort of rolled out in a weird way. A lot to cover, but a little bit of housekeeping notes. Ed at pizzainmotion.com if you want to email us. Text and voicemail 571-293-6659. He is at Kerr Points on all those social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion. We have a little bit of a giveaway that I'll announce in just a moment, Mr. Kerr. But first, let's talk a little bit about your travel. It looked like you were having a really good time at Newark.
I never even made it to Newark. Yeah. Lovely week in New York City. Let's see, how did I get up there? That's right, I flew in the back of a Delta. Holy moly, man. Delta A321 up to LaGuardia on Monday. Rather uneventful, which is always fantastic. And then ended up staying at the Grayson this week, which I have not stayed at in almost 2 years, actually. I looked back at my stay history.
And that long.
And as soon as I got done with my first couple nights, I remembered why. So that's right by Bryant Park, an Unbound collection from Hyatt. It opened, I think it just opened in 23, right? Or 22. It's not that old at all.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
And then I did try and fly Delta out of Newark home. And why, you might ask. Number one, it is half the price of flying Delta out of LaGuardia. Number two, Delta just started flying the A220 once a day from Newark to Atlanta.
I was excited for this. I was excited for you to test this plane out.
Yeah. I really wanted to fly it, and I was like, this is wonderful, and it allowed me to get a full day of work in New York City. I would have to fight tunnel traffic out of the city at that time to get to Newark, but I was willing to give it a go because February is a whole lot better than spring or summer for trying to navigate New York City traffic, as well as congestion pricing. I personally have not experienced any benefit from that, but people tell me it's working. I still sat in just as much traffic this week anytime I tried to go anywhere. And I do take the subway to and from work every day in New York City. So
man of the people.
Yeah, unless I've got a suitcase, I'm in the subway going back and forth. But you've stayed at the Grayson, I think, a few times. I've certainly spent my fair amount of time there. There's first of all, if you're just going for a leisure stay in New York City, I think it's going to be a great property for you. I think right there by Bryant Park's a great location. It's right by the subway. You can walk everywhere. Yep. It's trendy. The breakfast for globalists is really great. The breakfast restaurant is fantastic. The rooftop bar, not rooftop, but top floor with panoramic views is very nice. Barcima has a great gym. I actually got one workout in this week, which is one more than I did the week before when I'm on the road.
I got 2 in this week, man. 2.
Yeah. But functionally, here's where it just falls a little bit short for me. Number one, every new and trendy hotel seems to have this. I think I texted you. It's like, how dark can we make this room? And we're just going to put a few little sconce lights around. And that's going to be your light. So like bald dudes have to like shave their heads in the morning before work and like trim my beard. And even with all of the lights on in the entire room and the windows open.
Trim your beard. Dude, you got I think my son has more stubble than you.
Well, I mean, I keep it this length, right? I keep the stubble at the length. So I have the trimmer.
You told me you haven't shaved in like a million years. So you really do shave. You trim.
the day I got out of the Navy is the last day I shaved my face, and that will be the last day of the rest of my life because I did that too many times. But dude, I can't see. Like I cannot. Like, did I miss a spot? Is like you can't see in the Grayson Hood. It's just a dark room. And then the second thing is there is inevitably times during the week either where I just get back from a dinner or early in the morning where I have to sit at a desk and just crank some emails out because I'm going to be in meetings all day. And the Grayson just has a little stool that's not a real chair. And all of their stools are a couple years old now. And what I have found is the screws that hold the stools into the legs have all stripped. So the stool wobbles really bad in every room that I've had the last 3 stays. And when I'm just trying to sit there and get work done, it's not comfortable and you're wobbling on a stool. And like, that's just, again, pure functional. If you're going for a leisure stay and you want a cool spot to stay, it's a great value. It's a great bar and great breakfast and everything. It's a wonderful property. If you're trying to be the road warrior thing and, and if you happen to be bald or, need to see.
Sure, if you're a bald road warrior, avoid Grayson at all.
I mean, but it's just a dark room. And some people want it, like if you're starting the day before a very long day, like light and airy and like that ambiance I'm going for, I'm not trying to be in a cave getting ready, man. So like, it's just whatever your personal preference is. But nonetheless, like besides that, like the beds. Why, man? Like everybody, if you know what I'm talking about with like that, like I don't want to wake up in the morning and just be in the dark. It looks like I'm literally trying to get ready by candlelight in these rooms.
Yeah, probably the only thing I would say, like from my recollection of Grayson, and I didn't stay there in the last 4 or 5 months, but I stayed there once or twice a year. I thought you got a fairly decent amount of light coming in if you roll the windows up because it does have a nice big window.
Maybe because it's still winter and it was like gloomy and snowy, but like I can't see. And then again, a solid desk to work out in the hotel room is just a must for me. It's just I don't know, gotta have it. But like, don't let that dissuade you from staying at the Grayson. It's just as simple. Again, if you're a bald road warrior, maybe not for you, as Ed said. And then very quickly, I'll recap the trip home. It was a little bit of ice and snow this week in New York City. Nothing bad at all. But dude, Newark just cannot keep up. It can't. It has proven every single day. And with the 7 p.m. flight out, because I was trying to do the A220, early in the day, I saw Newark was a bit of a mess. They got into a hold. They started holding flights to their destination. And sure enough, like 6 hours before, I got the alert from Flighty that said your inbound flight is going to be delayed in Atlanta because of air traffic control.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? It had already been an incredibly long week. I was like, I'm not going to truck out to Newark to now sit there for hours and hours, probably be delayed a few hours, and then not be driving home from the parking spot at the Atlanta airport, until 12:31 in the morning. So I ripped the Band-Aid, looked at the quick change options, which I think next week we're going to talk about what's happened to Delta same day change because it is not what it used to be as far as the app experience goes. But I actually switched out to a flight JFK that looked pretty empty as far as New York City to Atlanta flights on Delta go, and had a flight out Friday morning, man. Stayed at the Resorts World at the Hyatt Regency JFK for the first time. I really liked that property. I really disliked the casino, probably the worst vibes casino I've been in anywhere in the world, so avoid that. But ended up clearing, man, on the 757-200. Got the upgrade as a Delta Platinum.
I saw.
Sid, even having the screenshot that like the night before, I was like, I wonder if I'm crack the top 15, and it was like number 1 on the upgrade list. So maybe JFK is that sweet spot, man, for me to get some rides up front. And it was even the internationally configured 757, which I don't think I've ever actually sat in on a Delta plane before. So super comfortable seat, and just another night of a little bit of sleep with the early morning flight. And we did taxi for almost an hour, which should not be the case at JFK in the mornings. It should be chill, but otherwise, man, smooth flight home. Here we are, collapsed last night. And, maybe I'm actually going to fly back to JFK on Monday again. By the time you're listening to this, I'll be back in old New York City, actually with you, Mr. Ed. And,
I know.
Dude, one-way economy from Atlanta to LaGuardia is $499 now. Like, it's $499 one-way economy Delta LaGuardia. It is half price to fly to JFK or Newark right now compared to LaGuardia. And I get it from trying to get in and out of the city thing, but in the winter, I'm willing to do that at JFK. I land about 11, so it's not exactly morning rush hour by the time I'm on the road. And hopefully we can get to the office in under an hour in the lift. So, maybe we found a little sweet spot there.
Maybe. I think we'll see. When we think about Newark, when you were having your issues, there was something in the back of my head, and so I went and looked this up, and I don't remember all the details, and I should have sent you the page for it. But if you'll remember, historically, Newark used to be not slot controlled, but slot restricted, and then they lifted some of those restrictions, and then probably about 18 months ago, the FAA allowed airlines to reduce their flight schedule without losing slots at Newark. And United was one of the carriers that did that. They dropped, I don't know, like 5 or 10% of their flights. And when I was looking back through the notes, this was actually extended through late 2025. It was the FAA extended it last year, 2024, for another like year or 15 months. So like when you talk about the Newark problems, they're not even running at what the FAA believes is full capacity. So that's a challenge. It's why United has moved some of their connecting flow down to Dulles. Flights that used to be, some of their stuff that was connecting flow is moved out just because Newark is sort of like, groaning at the streams. And you seem to have gotten pretty much every lump you could out of it.
I got a fun argument with our founder this week where, like, when I ended up I was like early Thursday, I was like, I'm not going to mess with this. Like, I'm so tired of Newark. I just cannot fly out of there. He was like, it's the bet. Like, we got into this whole thing where he was like, I only fly out of Newark because it's the only airport that's on time. And I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing you've said in 4 years, because it's just not true. And then proudly screenshotted my original flight not landing back in Atlanta until midnight Thursday night. So I would have been starting my drive home at 12:30.
In fairness, like, most of what he probably flies out of there is international, and they're probably later in the day flights. And so they're planes that probably have a long time on the ground. And
he does it domestic. I don't know. I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever said, man. Like,
domestic.
Yeah, I mean, just for like a day. But I was like, I never am on time out of Newark, and I just wanted to fly the cool new A220, and we couldn't make it happen. Again, it's not Delta's fault in this case. It was Newark's. Like literally they had like half an inch of slush in the morning, and the whole day was shot. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. That this just continues to be tolerated. Like,
well, the good news is that there's like 4 weeks of spring before you run into the summer delays at Newark. So everything should be great.
Sure, it'll be better. I want to hear about the Palazzo in Vegas and the new World of Hyatt relationship.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk a little bit about American Airlines, and we're going to talk about a new little giveaway that we've got thanks to a friend of the show, somebody Mr. Kerr, you know. More on that in a second. So yeah, Palazzo and Venetian. I haven't stayed at Palazzo and Venetian for, probably a decade. Always liked the hotels from a look and feel standpoint, because some good restaurants there. I end up there every year for CES just to be part of the convention. But they're not easy hotels for me to get in and out of from a work standpoint, just based on where they are. So generally avoid them. They're also more expensive than Resorts World, which has always been a really nice home for me for the past couple of years. Well, yeah, as you noted, both Venetian and Palazzo are now part of World of Hyatt. It's sort of a limited partnership. There's not a ton of benefits to it. As of yet, we're not sure if there are going to be more benefits in the future. But for now, if you book through World of Hyatt, you can earn points on your stay. You get elite stay credits. If you book directly with Palazzo and Venetian, you don't get those things. And there is some pricing disparity. I've done a little bit of research on it, and it doesn't seem to be in one direction or another, where Hyatt's more expensive all the time and Venetian and Palazzo have cheaper rates. I've seen a little bit of back and forth, but typically I would say you should always search both Hyatt's website and Palazzo and Venetian if you're headed out there, because there is enough of a pricing discrepancy that it's worth checking. I stayed at Palazzo this time. It was actually slightly cheaper than Venetian. The rooms are very similar, both properties, though, because the Venetian is a lot older property. They're going through a renovation. One of our Slack members, Mark Jackson Jet Setting, was just at Venetian and got one of the renovated rooms. My room at Palazzo, I don't think it had been renovated, but it was in really, really good shape. And when I think about, remember when you and I recorded at the Bellagio, a couple of years ago, I think, we did a video. It was like, actually, it might have been pre-COVID at this point. I am old. I have bad memory. Like when I think about the Bellagio rooms, like, they're a little bit tired. Like it's still a very nice hotel, but the rooms definitely haven't held up over the years. My Palazzo room was in beautiful condition. I was actually kind of surprised. I was expecting it like worn carpets and stuff like that, fixtures in the bathroom. Everything was in really good shape. All these rooms have sunken living rooms, so you go like past the beds to the sunken living room. I've got some video that maybe Jeremiah can unfold in here. There's a sectional sofa, L-shaped sectional sofa. There's a full desk for Mr. Kerr with a full-size chair.
There you go.
And then there's a separate table with 2 seats. So there's a ton of space in the living room for people to hang out. Bathroom is a pretty massive Vegas casino style bathroom. Big sunken tub, big shower, separate room for the toilet, double sinks, the whole bit. So the rooms are a nice size. There are an absolute ton of restaurants between Venetian and Palazzo. A ton. Again, hadn't eaten much in either casino in a long time, so I dined at Lavo with one of our Slack members, Rex, had a very good meal. Had a massive meatball as our appetizer, which you can never go wrong with for me.
How Italian.
And then a nice big plate of pasta to help with my carb loading for my A1C level. Meal was great. Really enjoyed it. Great service by our bartender, Dylan. And then at check-in, I was offered a 2 p.m. late checkout, which is part of the benefits of being a World of Hyatt member. It's not specific to your elite status level. Everybody gets the same sort of offer. You can also use the invited guest check-in counter at both Venetian and Palazzo. And that might not sound like much of a benefit, but if you're not using the kiosks to check in at a casino, I think Mr. Kerr, you can be in line for 45 minutes to an hour. And so the invited guest check-in is actually kind of a big deal. But all in all, I'd say room was in excellent condition. The gym at Palazzo, which is the smaller of the two gyms, is still bigger than most hotel gyms I've stayed at. It's a Canyon Ranch spa gym. Everything was in great working order. There were 2 Pelotons, both of which worked, which I can't say for the last 2 hotels I stayed at.
Dude, there was broken at the Grayson, even though they had the big old new sign that said earn Hyatt points with Peloton. The bike wouldn't even turn on, and I was like, how surprising. Of course it's broken.
I earned my first 100 points for a Peloton workout at the Hyatt Regency New Orleans last week. This week at, where was I? Chicago Athletic Association. Unfortunately, the bikes were not on the network, and I couldn't earn my 100 points. So to your point, I've definitely seen some broken bikes, but I did earn my first 100 points. And it was actually pretty simple. There was a QR code on the Peloton. I scanned the QR code. It linked my Peloton and my Hyatt account, and then I just did my workout, and 100 points posted. No, not that 100 points is a big deal, but I'll take it.
The homepage of World of Hyatt right now is actually the Venetian and Palazzo partnership. Big panoramic picture and click more. Two questions, and maybe one question, one concern. One, was the resort fee waived as a Hyatt Globalist?
God, I wish I knew the answer to that. I'm going to look for my folio while we're talking about it.
Don't think it is, and that's a problem for me.
Why? Just because I'm sure it's a big, nice, tasty resort fee?
Yeah, for nothing, right? So it's an illegal second room rate not disclosed at the time of booking most of the time.
At least you're not bitter about it.
Yeah. Second is, dude, I pulled up some dates in March, and maybe March is a really hot time for Vegas. But man,
March Madness is a massive time in Vegas. Are you picking any of the March Madness weekends?
I don't know, but dude, we're talking 40,000 points for a base room at either of these properties.
So I was going to talk about this. The point stuff, I did some searching, and it's like I was looking at rates that were like $340 a night, and it was 30,000 points. So I didn't find any dates where I thought a points booking was worth your while, considering where else you can spend 30,000 Hyatt points.
I'm also seeing just a lot of sold out dates as I pick random dates throughout the year. The Venetian Palazzo are not available.
Well, so there's 2 things about, first off, March obviously is March Madness, which is a very popular time in Vegas. The other thing is, because of the fact that it's attached to the Sands Convention Center, it really does get busy.
So I just picked what's happening May 28th in Vegas. I have no idea.
Memorial Day weekend?
At 79,000 points for a base room at Venetian.
Nice.
Like, dude, this is like within the last 30 seconds become incredibly less interesting to me. Like, what? Like, I don't. These, and again, let's just keep clicking on random dates here. Like summer in Vegas, not really. Like it says shoulder time. Let's see here. Okay, we got down to 26,000 points for a base room. But that just means
I didn't find any dates where I would have said using points was a good value.
But isn't that the whole point of being in the loyalty program, right? Is the ability to redeem in true Hyatt fashion. This is just missing the mark for me. Then again,
this was the thing about the announcement of the partnership, though. It was it wasn't going to follow the standard award chart. It was going to be dynamic pricing. So I think we both thought it wasn't going to be great.
26,000 points plus a resort fee. Like I'm never going to look at this. I mean, I might look at it again for some reason, but probably not. Bummer.
I mean, I still haven't, as I think about it, I still haven't decided if it's something that I will use frequently when I'm in Vegas. I certainly like being able to rack up Hyatt nights. It's absolutely, obviously a nicer property in the Rio in a very different price band. But if Resorts World is, $100 or $125 a night to stay at Conrad, and Venetian or Palazzo is, $250, I don't think I'd spend double to be at Venetian or Palazzo. Now I'm a little bit of a but a little bit of a different breed on that. There's a lot more to do at Venetian and Palazzo than there is to do at Resorts World. There's a lot better food there. I say better, but like there's a lot of really great restaurants at Venetian and Palazzo. There's a lot to do. You know, the gondolas, the walk in the canals, the whole bit. It's also closer to the rest of the strip. Like, you know, so for people that are looking for a place to stay because they're there to experience Vegas, I think Venetian and Palazzo have a lot more to offer than Resorts World, for sure. For me, from a business standpoint, Resorts World, you know, has a lot of advantages in terms of it's cheap and, you know, very nice rooms, and it gets me in and out quickly.
Speaking of dining, I sent you a text, and I forgot to follow up on this, but the Jose Andres group, I think you've referred to several times as good restaurants.
Yeah.
And there's several in Vegas.
Yeah.
I think,
Yep.
and
You're going to tell me that you've signed all of them to Bilt restaurants, please.
you know, I hope, but I'll tell you this, it was really cool. I've told the story many times of, like, you never know who's going to walk into the Bilt office, but I walked down into our brand new basement, which is a really cool spot in the Bilt office, and where our founder tends to hang out. And he was talking to somebody, and he kind of waved me in, and I walk in, and, you know, he was like, "This is Richard." It was the CEO of the Jose Andres group, restaurant group, was in our office, and we ended up having a solid conversation where I was just picking his brain, you know, as we do some things in the travel and hospitality world of Bilt about what's important. And let me tell you, man, what an awesome guy. I'm not even going to, you know, try and pronounce his last name. Sam, it was great to meet you. Yeah, Baksandapur.
I think that's right, to be clear. I'm a big fan because I'm a big fan of World Central Kitchen. It's a charity that we've donated to a number of times that Jose Andres started.
So it was super cool to meet and chat to him and hear about and I can see just from very short conversation with him why that restaurant group has a lot of success. I really agreed with everything that he said in the short conversation. It was just super cool. So we'll be looking to try more of the restaurants as we travel around.
Yeah, and you haven't done a lot of them?
I mean, dude, dining and celebrity chefs is so far out of my wheelhouse that maybe I have, and I've just had no idea that this is one of their restaurants.
My favorite in Vegas for Jose Andres, and I haven't been to all of them for sure, but Jaleo at Cosmo, which is literally right across the hallway from Zuma, where you and I have dined. It's great tapas. I actually think they probably have the best paella in Vegas, and especially with Julian Serrano closing in Aria, would absolutely recommend Jaleo across the hallway from Zuma at Cosmo.
I had another great dining experience in New York City, actually. Chef John George, again, not going to pronounce the last name, but everybody knows John George. He has a new restaurant called Chez Margot in New York City. That's a members only kind of club deal, and I went there before Christmas, and it's just like probably my favorite New York City menu because it doesn't try and be a New York City menu.
Nice.
It has like sushi on it, but then pasta, but then steak, but then truffle pizza, but then French fries, but then like it's all kinds of fish. And I was like, man, it's just really freaking good. And again, claim to fame, ladies and gentlemen, is the night before we were there, Miss Taylor Swift had dinner there at Chez Margot. So Taylor and I are pretty much best friends now since I did the restaurant that she had at the day before, you know. So kind of getting into the good food scene, which just leads me back to, of all of the things we've talked about in the last however many years, what did I get the most messages about from any episode? Applebee's and Chili's, man. People are hyped.
It exploded in
People
Slack.
are hyped up about Chili's. I had read it. I had no idea. People are hyped about the Chili's, and people do not like Applebee's. So maybe we should just become a food podcast. I don't know. People just went nuts over that conversation last week.
You know, it was very popular in the Slack community for sure. Lots of messages, lots and lots of messages about appetizer towers. And all that good stuff. And you as a veteran podcaster, I appreciate the segue for me to mention the Slack community. So if you want to throw a couple of bucks our way on a monthly basis or buy an annual subscription, a bunch of channels there for folks to hang out and get answers from travel experts like Mr. Kerr and I. On top of that, we have weekly happy hours, mostly weekly happy hours if Ed's schedule permits. We have the occasional meetup, which by the time this episode drops, Mr. Kerr, we will have had a meetup in New York City with a few of our members. But yeah, I was really surprised by the Applebee's and Chili's reaction. And I will just say, you know, for all intents and purposes, I am a none of the above guy. If I'm going to play in that genre, I'm going to play in the Red Lobster pool, and I'll leave the Applebee's and Chili's to you guys.
Red Lobster. who is in bankruptcy, as I understand it. I don't
They
know.
are, but you know what? Until they're gone, I will welcome a
Cheddar
seafood dinner
biscuit.
for four for a reasonable price
Probably
of
cheaper than Applebee's.
probably, yeah. Well, my family of four can eat seafood for under $100. Yeah, there. So. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about American Airlines. And as we talk about American Airlines, we're going to tease a new relationship that we have. It's an old relationship and a new relationship, all the same. I don't know if you know this guy. He's a founder of a new, well, not new anymore, but he's a founder of a very innovative travel product called Points Path.
Haven't heard of it. Who's that?
Julian Keel, Kheel. Keel, like even keel. You know what a keel is? I think you do. You're
I'm familiar with what a keel is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've worked out a partnership with Mr. Keel. So going forward, we'll be giving away some test subscriptions to Points Path, courtesy of the Miles to Go podcast and Points Path. So if you want to be eligible to win a subscription, these are for new subscribers, people to try the product. So if you're an existing subscriber, unfortunately, this isn't for you, but we will have some stuff for you as well. But anybody who writes in, leaves a comment, asks us a question, it will be eligible to win a Points Pass subscription on a weekly basis. So this week's topic, if you will, is going to revolve around my few flights on American Airlines. So if you want to weigh in on, with Mr. Kerr, playing in the Delta pond now, who you think is doing the best? American, Delta, United, maybe you're zoned in on Southwest, but Mr. Kerr, I've had 3 American flights this year, and all 3 have been the same thing. It was, American United operated the route. I was going to be connecting, and American left 2 hours later than United, which gave me a longer workday. So not going out of my way to book American, but it worked for these 3 flights. That flight's about 3.5 hours in the air. So it's a decent length flight. So that was Chicago, Vegas. And I also flew New Orleans back to DCA on a regional jet. So I've had 4 flights, because I've had 2 first class experiences, 1 coach experience on a regional jet, and 1 coach experience on 737. I would say overall 4 flights, I've been pleasantly, I don't want to say maybe surprised, maybe some degree because of how poorly other folks have talked about American. A lot of it was what I remembered from when I used to fly American all the time. The one time that I was in the back of the bus on a regional jet, flight attendant came back to me. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Pietrello, thank you for, being a loyal member. Sorry we couldn't get you upgraded today. Let me bring you the snack basket back from first class." Very surprised, because I haven't been recognized. Again, not that it's a huge deal, but I don't know that last time I was in coach on United where they recognized my status and offered me my free snack. I can always ask for it, but there's no recognition. Not that that's a huge deal, but for when you spend as much time on airplanes as you as I do, that little bit of recognition, I mean, it does help. Like, it feels good that the airline's recognizing you for it. So I had that recognition. Sat in coach on a 737, offered me a free snack there as well. And then the 2 times that I was up front, again, small sample size, 4 drink services, Chicago to Las Vegas this past week. And I took a nap to start the flight. Guy was very friendly, the whole bit. And so, not that it's a huge difference, but just noticeable service level differences between the 2 on a very small sample size between my tons of flights on United and my flights on American. I know it's been a while since you've flown American on a regular basis as you're converting back to Delta, and we're flying a bunch of United last year. Mm-hmm. And I remember your experiences not being necessarily great with American, but I'm pleasantly surprised based on some of the negative stuff I've heard from folks about American.
My experience with American regionals was always fantastic. The crew was always so much more pleasant than mainline. All I heard was again, take it for what it's worth, but this was my experience when I was executive platinum flying back in, many places for probably 3 years in a row, is American flight attendants were never happy to be at work. And I think they just got their contract done after not having a new one for a very long time. So could have been a little bit of that. So not too terribly surprised to hear that. I will say the flight attendant yesterday from JFK to Atlanta in first class, Alex, I don't know, you're not listening to the Miles to Go podcast, but if anybody knows Alex, JFK-based crew, she was wonderful, man. She was working that whole flight from boarding until we were getting off the plane, man. It was amazing. So there was a passenger next to me who had like a 6-hour layover in Atlanta. I couldn't hear where she was going, but Alex kept coming back throughout the flight and had her phone, was like trying to see if I can get you on an earlier flight. I saw you have a 6-hour layover, and like 3 times throughout the flight came back and was like, hey, just want to let you know we're still working on this. I don't see any seats right now on my tablet, but I was like, holy moly. Like that.
Wow.
I was like blown away by Delta's service in first class. So Alex, I'm flying JFK on Monday. I really hope you're on my flight, and I really hope I get upgraded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I've said to you in the past couple of weeks, like I'm not going out of my way to take connections when I've got a nonstop flight, but for sure, if American is an option on a route and it doesn't cost me extra time, I'm going to be leaning into that in 2025. I've seen enough of the movie now that it doesn't seem to be worse than American. It doesn't seem to be worse than United for sure, and at least with a small sample size so far, seems positive. But I'll be interested to hear what people who are out there and flying on a regular basis are saying right now between the three airlines. I know it can be tough because if you're hub captive, maybe you haven't done a bunch of comparison and you sort of fall into the trap that I've fallen in with United, where maybe you focus on the negatives because there seem to be a lot of them, and maybe you don't see the positives. So I'm trying to be as open and honest with myself as possible about who's succeeding and who's failing on all these various airlines, for what it's worth. But drop us a note and maybe you'll win a free 90-day Points Pass subscription.
Which I have. The Points Pass Lufthansa first class tool has been on my computer, permanently open tab as I continue to count the days down until I'm within the window of Lufthansa, hopefully opening up a spot back to New York City here in a couple weeks. So Points Pass, very valuable for a lot of reasons.
Flight alerts is what I'm using. I'm crushing it for trying to find flights back from Tokyo. So I have a whole bunch of alerts going for flights back from Tokyo, waiting for prices to go down. And it does seem to be broken because it just seems like all I get are alerts of the prices going up, which is unfortunate. So, Julian, you need to work on that. So, Mr. Kerr, and I love just trolling you whenever I have the opportunity. So,
sure.
I've seen a bunch of stuff out there on the Reddit that Bilt is crushing all of their credit cards, and consumers are going to be, it's going to be miserable, and this is the end of Bilt rewards as we know it, and it's horrible, and nobody's ever going to want to get a Bilt credit card again. So, with all of that, you want to talk a little bit about what's coming down the pike?
Yeah, I think the word nerf is the word that you're looking for. We are nerfing the program overnight, and everybody, sorry, you're out of luck. No, we sent out a survey this week to all of our card holders that basically said, hey, give us your inputs on what you want Bilt Card 2.0 to look like, while giving a few hints about, I guess, some of the larger frame constructs that we're thinking about. So let me preface this by saying everything that we sent out, everything you can see across, multiple sites and Reddit now, are not firm, fixed, decided on by any means whatsoever, and nothing is imminently changing. We have several months.
Translation: this is all done, and there's nothing else that the consumer can weigh in on.
And we've nerfed everything. Bilt points are no longer the most valuable currency. Yeah, no, it's pretty. It's always man, like you get what you get from the Reddit crowd, which is this is terrible. This is never going to be good enough. We want more. If you just gave me a 3x on everything card, then how we get your card? It's like, okay, like that's not basic economics, just don't work. On the other hand, man, we have an inbox set up for our founder where, people can email him anytime. And I promise you, because so many of them are forwarded to me at any given time of the night, he reads every one of those that come in. When we sent out the survey, man, we got hundreds and hundreds of emails to his inbox from people excited to give their input. First of all, we broke Typeform, the site that we put the survey out on. We had like 30,000 people took it in the first hour after it came out, and we actually broke Typeform where the submit button went away. And we had to reach out and go, hey guys, we turn this back on for us? But hundreds of emails from people excited to send their input. And this is much more what I would call the cross-section of our consumer base. It's not the diehard points and miles folks, and not the diehard Redditors, which tend to go negative. By the way, I had a meeting with Reddit this week, like the corporate Reddit, and just seeing the breakdown of customer sentiment across financial institutions on Reddit was just so intriguing and so interesting. So that was really cool. But man, we have so many people excited about what we're doing and giving, so all the feedback that we hope for and some. And we're going to put great products out at the end of the day. I think you're going to see multiple products, as we've, shown several times. If you want to continue to participate in Bilt Rewards with no annual fee, that is certainly going to be an option for you. We've been clear about that from the start. But it's just, it's great to see when you scroll through all the interwebs and everybody goes, I told you, just like I've been telling you every month for 4 years, Bilt's going broke. They're finally not going to be here next month. Like, they're going to, 8 years from now, they'll be just like I told you guys, Bilt's not going to make it. They're broke. Just like I've been telling you every month for 12 years, they're broke. I'm like, that's funny. Like, you're still saying that. It's like, And also just, or, to the points of miles folks here, like, please fill out that survey. Please send me a DM. Give us your feedback. It's got to be economically viable. It just has to be. Like, it just has, like, we cannot make a 3X everywhere card. We cannot give you 4X on 8 different, categories of spend, as much as I'd love to do that. But also remember, this is something that's just gotten lost in the sauce, despite us doubling down on it, is, Bilt is so much more than the co-brand card. Only 15% of our members have the co-brand card. It's a very important part of what we're doing. It's huge. It's how we started the business. But the Bilt platform today is just so much more in the Bilt business than our co-brand card. So just remember that when you guys, think that the entire business hinges off of this co-brand card. It's just simply not, not even close to being the case.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's coming. I've seen some of the suggestions, obviously weighed in with my own survey choices, and I can't wait to see what the next round of Bilt cards looks like. Meanwhile, I'll still be carrying my $0 annual fee card until you tell me what else is out there.
Hey, me too.
All right, 2 more things to touch on. We talked a little bit about some Aeroplan changes, and then this sort of odd way that Delta is talking about MQDs for Delta car rentals and hotel stays. So Aeroplan sent an email out a couple days ago at time of recording about some more changes to dynamic pricing for their program. So for folks who aren't aware, as a general rule, most of their stuff follows partner award charts outside of the U.S. There's some distance-based stuff in there, but you've got some like reliable prices to redeem for stuff. But for Air Canada flights, those have been dynamically priced. And, Air Canada's argument there, or Aeroplan's argument there is, well, look, it gives you more access to more flights. And, in general, that's true, but Air Canada flights can be somewhat pricey from a miles and points standpoint, depending on what the underlying price of the flight is. So they've rolled out 2 new dynamic charts, if you will, where Etihad will run on dynamic pricing, as will United. And it could be a coincidence, but we talked about last week how much United is raising the cap, if you will, on anytime pricing for awards. We saw 500,000 miles per passenger from San Francisco to Auckland, New Zealand, as an example. And so we haven't seen what these prices are going to look yet. And I love Aeroplan as a program. I'd be lying if I didn't say it made me a little bit nervous to see dynamic pricing when it comes to United awards on Aeroplan, just because of how much United has been raising their award pricing.
What did we see last week? 500,000 United miles now for business to the South Pacific.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, not too terribly surprising. I read Ben over at 1 Mile at a Time's take on this, and he said, it doesn't really matter as far as Etihad is concerned, because right now the majority of awards are not bookable. So if we raise the prices and make it dynamic, you can actually use your Aeroplan points to book Etihad. Then, great. Like that's, now you have an option that previously wasn't there. We started with 2. This is in addition to Emirates and I think some of the Canadian regional carriers that were already dynamic, and now you've got 4 out of the. Are they up to 50 partners now for Aeroplan?
They have a crazy amount of partners.
I think they cracked 50 last I talked to them.
That's
so 4 out of 50 partners dynamic. Some of the larger ones, again, just not too terribly surprising. I know there's some friendly competition there between Toronto and Chicago as far as United and Aeroplan go.
Yeah.
For how they handle each other's inventory, mainly based on the popularity of each other's membership base wanting to use the other airline.
Yeah.
So not too terribly surprising, but, as we always say, the proof will be in the pudding in March when we see. I really like on the chart, by the way, did you see where they have starting price and then median price?
Yes.
So that's clever. That's really clever how they did that. And I just, I really hope that is the pricing that we see, because I really like the way of doing it like that. It's not exactly a chart, but it can still set expectations. Of what that median is going to be. So I thought that was super clever when they published that. But, just 3 weeks away from now, we'll find out.
Well, and I think that's the point of why I think a lot of us, points and miles nerds like the Aeroplan program, because I think they do better than a lot of others in trying to give their members an idea of, what to expect for award pricing. They try to offer value, all the partners. So I still think there's a lot to love for Aeroplan, but the United thing, it's definitely a wait and see for me. The chances I'm going to book an Etihad award are pretty low, and I think most of the people listening, the chances that you're going to book an Etihad award are probably pretty low. So,
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a better deal through Flying Blue now, anyways, as we saw.
Sure, yeah.
I got that inaugural from Atlanta to Abu Dhabi sometime this summer, and I got to find the date.
Are we going?
We should have booked that September flight when it was, however, ridiculously low. How many was it? Like, not very many for business class from Atlanta to Abu Dhabi?
That's exactly how many it was. Yes, it was not very many.
Like less than 80,000, I think it was.
Why didn't we book that?
because you and I have 785,000 things going on.
Neither one of us could have committed to anything in
Yeah, I
September.
can't commit to.
September, sure. That's like 2028. All right, so let's talk about this Delta thing real quick because I'm still stumped by this. So when Delta redid its program and rolled out some new ways to earn MQDs, call it I don't know, over a year ago now at this point, they talked about the fact that they were going to be offering a path to status from car rentals and hotel stays. And they sort of like rolled it out for like 75 minutes and then it went away. And so it's coming back now. May from the Slack community posted this. She's always on top of stuff like this. It's just so weird how they rolled this out. So it's a limited time offer. You have to book through the end of March to travel through the end of April. So a very short window for this. And you'll earn one MQD or medallion qualification dollar per dollar spent on car rentals, hotels, or vacation rentals. And then on top of that, you'll earn 2 miles per dollar spent on car rentals. So that's just redeemable miles. Strong opinions about the earning rates on this, but I guess I'm still puzzled by why they're only doing this for small chunks of time, and I'm curious what your thoughts are.
It's probably a test, right? That's what it is. Let's test this.
I thought the last time they did this, it was a test.
Maybe they're testing it differently this time. Maybe it was successful, and they just, maybe I'm sure it's really expensive to give out that number of MQDs, down the line. Like it doesn't actually cost them anything to put MQDs in your account, but eventually, if everybody's got status, then it's expensive.
I don't think, but is it? I mean, like, the only thing you're giving away that costs the airline money is Sky Miles. Like, I mean, like if there's 50 more people on the upgrade list, they're not giving away more first class seats or Comfort Plus seats. They're giving away the same number.
I mean, no, do you know how hard it is to even get Comfort Plus out of Atlanta now if you're booking 2 weeks in advance? Like they're all taken, man. Like, and that's lost revenue for them selling those things. I
agree. That's what I'm saying. So if they have 50,000 more platinum members, they're not going to give away more free Comfort Plus seats because more people have status. And that's like the MQDs are status earning vehicles. So having more people who earn status, I don't think costs Delta a whole lot of money because they're not giving away any upgrades.
I mean, there's a lot of intangible benefits to that. I mean, preferred seats, even of like less seats to sell. Status definitely has a cost, or else they would just give it to everybody. Like it definitely has a cost to it.
It has a cost, but only when the person's paying to fly on the airline.
Yeah, maybe two sides of that. Like status there's definitely benefits that have a cost.
Sure,
it's not just people in Atlanta. It's the other markets they're going after. I think they also just we can't afford to dilute Delta status anymore. Like too many people have it already. So even after raising the requirements, Sky Clubs are already full. Even after that's right. Like this week, I used 2 of my 15 Sky Club passes already for my Delta Reserve card that just kicked in February 1st. So I'm already extrapolating that out. I'll use another 2 next week, and I'll already be down to only 11 left for the whole year, man. So like,
are those transferable? Because I still have 1 Delta card, and I could give 15 to a friend of mine named Richard.
I don't think they are. The one-time passes you can obviously use for everybody. But, by May, I'm going to be out of Sky Club business for the year. And I'm not putting $75,000 on the Delta Reserve card just for Sky Club access. So, like, that's going to be pretty annoying. Got off on a tangent there. But, I mean, I think it's just not something they can afford to do all the time. Probably cuts in, right, they're doing this because they make margin off the hotel commissions that, whoever powers their engine pays for. So, giving away bonus stuff cuts into the margin of that business. And it's just an awareness, just a marketing thing, right? It's just, let's bring awareness that you can book flights and get bonus miles. And in order to incentivize the behavior, we'll give away MQDs for a while. I told you pre-show I'm not going to take advantage of this just because I looked at, how much, again, flights from Atlanta to LaGuardia are already costing. Like this year, I'm not going to have any problem qualifying for Platinum Medallion just off of spend on the airline. And I'm not going to go all the way for Diamond. So I'm just going to continue to not sacrifice my progress towards, Hyatt lifetime status by booking through Delta. Because, of course, remember, ladies and gentlemen, through online travel agencies, you will not get Hyatt points or Elite Night credits. So not willing to give that up for bonus MQDs. But if I was on the edge of, like, am I going to make Platinum or not, I might take advantage of this.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it in the lens of, like, Advantage hotels and, the fact that I earned 9,000 Advantage miles and loyalty points for a 2-night hotel stay, a couple weeks ago versus this offer. Certainly I find Advantage hotels much more compelling. I find, booking hotels through Capital One Ventures portal, much more rewarding at 10x. I absolutely, find, some of the other, like something that Chase is doing in terms of hotel bonus points, car rental bonus points. This ranks pretty far down my list in terms of value. I would say, to your point, I guess if you were on the edge of one status level versus another, maybe you'd throw a couple hotel bookings or car rentals here. I just think that there's a ton more value. Like if you can get 10 Capital One Venture miles per dollar on a hotel stay versus 1 MQD per dollar, man, I just like, given the value of Delta status right now, I'm not saying it's worth nothing, to be clear. I know I had a little bit more negative view than you did, but man, it's hard to overcome that sort of value. And that's even setting aside your example of earning Hyatt status. So I just think there are a lot of options out there that offer a lot of value to people. And I'd be hesitant to want to go heavy into something like this.
Yep. Agree. Dude, I remember earning American status just off of Rocket Miles and getting like 10,000 American miles for every night in a hotel. Yeah, on price points that didn't have to match. There would just be whatever, I guess, crazy commission deals they'd worked out with a specific property. Some random hotels they stayed at in New York City getting 10,000 American miles per night. And I was like, this is a great deal. RIP. That was great. And I would love to know how Capital One is affording to give away 10x miles on hotels just because this is close to what I'm spending the majority of my day job doing right now. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, the only way I can think of it is that obviously the Ventures cards don't offer a ton of other bonus categories, so maybe they're just seeing so much in the 1X category that they're able to be profitable on that they're willing to, lose their shirt on hotels. But
2X everything, right? So that's the 2X plus the 10Xs.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah. Sure, yeah. 3 Navy Federal points per dollar on the Navy Federal.
According to Reddit, all currencies are worth the same. So
right, exactly. Yeah, and by the way, what you said about Advantage Hotels reminded me of one thing. I got this email from American, and I almost didn't read it, but either I had forgotten about this, but didn't know it. But this is, I think, valuable for folks to be sitting here in February and to know this. The way American Advantage codes credit card charges for this month only is interesting, in that your statement closing date doesn't matter for your March statement closing date. If you charge something on an Advantage credit card in February, they will split and charge your March statement for February charges go to last year's status, March charges go to next year's status. So if you're right on the edge, which I kind of am, we talked about it last week about this 250,000 loyalty point level, spending on your credit card right now in February, usually we'd be like, oh man, statement doesn't close till March, I'm screwed. And I think American does something pretty solid with their credit card partners here, and that you can charge in February, and that will help you qualify for status with American. So just a reminder for folks, you got a few more weeks if you want to rack up some charges.
Oh, American, bring back Atlanta LaGuardia.
All right, so what's on tap for this week? I know we're together. Are we going to record together?
Yeah, a lot of folks.
We might have to, because you're going to London soon. Yeah,
it's a week. Only 9 days away from departure to London with the family in Scotland. Really excited about that trip, and I have a lot of work to do to figure out the final details of that. Yeah, put out the bat signal. So we get a lot of people together in New York City this week for about 48 hours. It's going to be super fun. I think we got a little mention of a Slack meetup, which will be over by the time you listen to this. So I hope we had a great time last night. And then, another full week in New York, and then home for just another weekend, and then off to Europe we go.
Nice. I like it. I'm trying to think what I have on actually probably almost nothing. Father's having knee surgery in 9 days at the time of recording. So I think I will be pretty well anchored in DC until he can get himself around again. So you're going to see a lot of, maybe the last time we did this was, I was recording sitting on the floor in my dad's spare bedroom with horrific lighting and all that stuff. We're going to try to make things a little bit better this time.
I remember, yes. Yeah.
But yes, hopefully things won't be quite as bad as it was last time.
Nice.
All right, Mr. Kerr, I'll see you in less than a week's time, hanging out in New York City. And like you said, I hope everybody had fun at the meetup last night from the time we dropped this episode. New York is on the horizon, along with Scotland, Europe, and a month off the road for me. All that and a whole lot more until we upload again. We've got miles to go.
We are nerfing the program overnight, and everybody, sorry you're out of luck.